Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Imagine That. We are your armchair Imagineers for the Waltz Apartment Productions, and it's so good to have you join us because we're going to be doing some armchair Imagineering, and it's about a topic that a lot of us might not think about as part of like the Imagineering pyramid, but we're going to dive into parking. So I'm excited about that. But first, let's go around the room, say hi to everyone. Sam, how's it going?
It's going long day, but excited to talk. I'm actually excited to talk about this, especially because I know Kevin's been doing research all day. That's what we just talked about before this. So can't wait to hear that. But I was thinking about it earlier, and realistically, your first and last exposure to the parks are the parking lots. So it's a pretty integral conversation to have, I think.
That is so true, and I didn't actually think about that either. But we talked the very first thing is it starts with a story, and it's your first and last, your first impression, your last impression, and it's a pretty big part to your point. So
If it's
man, that just put
stressful,
into
imagine the
full.
arguments. Like the arguments that happen trying to find parking between mom and dad with kids screaming in the background, that's enough to ruin a vacation.
That's very true. And we're going to dive into Disney in particular because that's what we all know and love, but some other theme parks as well, and see if we can enhance the experience somewhat. But uh, speaking of Kevin doing some research, Kevin, how's it going?
No, it's going great over here. It's surprising how much information there is and isn't about parking, just across the board. It's something that I guess that people have as an afterthought. They don't really write it down. Like I was just trying to find simple things like, hey, where was the first parking lot ever put in? Not even Disney, just as a concept, because cars are fairly new, like as far as like humanity goes, right? It's before all of our lifetimes, but like we had like people who we knew during our lives that lived before cars, so it's kind of a weird way to look at the world. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna dive into that just a little bit of history nerd in me, to have it where we all know kind of like the baseline for where Walt was at the very least when he was designing his park and went, oh hey, we need somewhere for people to park. Like Sam was saying, there's a book out there called The Disneyland Story, the unofficial guide, where it starts out saying like Walt knew the first impressions mattered, and one of the greatest sensitivity points in the entire design experience was the parking lot. And it goes into like how it was the lobby. It's where people start their journey at Disney. It's where they leave at the end of the day. So you want to have it where they start off happy and they leave happy, and you have to have a good parking lot in order for that to happen. And yeah, I mean the reason why we had this topic is because we were having not the greatest experience on our journey into Disneyland a few weeks ago for Amanda and me. So we're like, hey, how can we plus this? Obviously, it was designed for a different time, about what 25 years ago, for the Mickey and Friends parking structure that we were driving into. So yeah, we're gonna kind of go through some ideas that we have, and like I said, I'll go through a little bit of history. I'll try not to make it too boring. I'll pick out some parts that I found most interesting, and yeah.
Can you guys elaborate on your story? Like what was the issue getting into the parking structure?
Oh yes. So um we've been to Disneyland, not this past weekend, but we've been 3 weekends in a row in the month of February, and there will be again 3 weekends in a row in the month of March. And we have been like when you go into to Disneyland from where we are in Ventura County, California, um, you are able to take the carpool ramp to get to Ball Road. It's the Disneyland Drive Ball Road exit. Um, or you can take the normal off ramp. And when both of those off ramps are backed up to the freeway, that is a problem. And it has happened on numerous occasions where we are sitting in, like, not even on the ramp yet, but literally sitting on the freeway waiting to get to the ramp. Then you wait for the traffic light, and then you have to wait for another traffic light if you're not able to get up and over the bridge to get to the Mickey and Friends parking structure. The light at Ball Road, from Ball Road and Disneyland Drive, that is a 5-minute light if there is nobody crossing the street. If there's somebody crossing the street, that's an even longer wait. So that is just like the tip of the iceberg. I know we're going to dive into it a little bit more as far as how the structure is set up in and of itself, but that's what sparked this. Was like, there's got to be a better way than sitting on the freeway and sitting at these lights for so long just to get to the parking structure. Because we always joke that, like, with the GPS, it tells us, oh, you'll get there at an hour and 10 minutes with no traffic. Great. We always add an extra hour because that extra hour is going to be parking. And time it takes to park and get to the front gate is another hour. So we're going to brainstorm some happier, more efficient ways to make the experience.
We'll see if we can come up with better ideas. I know that like the way Amanda described that, if you guys haven't been to Disneyland, to the Disneyland Resort, especially from that exit, it was part of the big change that Disney had the city do with the change for California Adventure opening. Because before DCA opened in California, they didn't have that exit as a way to get to Disneyland. You would take the Harbor exit or Catella, and you would head over to the park from one of those directions. It wasn't until they redesigned the freeway where they added more lanes there, and they added the carpool lane, and all this huge public works thing that went into effect to build the bridge off the freeway, and then the other bridge that would go straight into the parking lot, which is huge. Don't get me wrong. Like, back when California Adventure first opened, it was game changing. Where I'd never seen it so easy to get to a theme park. Even today, we've been to so many theme parks where you're driving in the middle of the city and stop and go traffic trying to get to that parking lot. But over here it was right off the freeway, and it was great. Except lately, it feels like there are a few more cars, especially getting there at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, than there used to be. People used to just rope drop. So if you got there between 7 and 8, you'd have a lot of cars there, and then after that it would kind of dwindle down. But now it feels like no matter what time of day you get to Disneyland, there's always a lot of people showing up. In my research, I found that they had determined that the best rate that they could get out of the parking lot there was, the Mickey and Friends parking structure specifically, was 60 cars per minute, which sounds like a ton, because that's a car per second, right? It should go really quickly. Yeah. I don't know how many cars were backed up where the freeway was backed up as well. I don't know if we were talking about thousands of cars at that point, or if it was just inefficiency at the actual toll booth once you got to it that was changing that throughput that they had designed.
So,
I'm curious too. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
So, as far as this parking structure that I've never been in, so, okay, you're going into the toll booth. Do they tell you how many spaces are left before you even make that turn?
No. I mean, the thing is that they will actually close the entryway if it reaches capacity. Okay. So we've had that before too, where you get over to the freeway exit and the bridge is closed, because the bridge actually goes both directions. Again, for everyone who has never been here before, it's kind of confusing. It has a light up sign above it that has like big red X's when it's closed. Otherwise, I can't remember if it's like green arrows or what it is to indicate that it's good to go. But at the end of the day, that same bridge is used to send people home too. So that's why you have the big X's, and then it turns green the other direction, so people can take that one bridge with 2 lanes on it the other direction. But in the morning when you're getting there, it's open. You're heading into the park.
Okay, but there's nothing that tells you before you get to the garage whether it's open or closed. So you just have to see if it's closed when you drive to it.
There isn't any kind of indicator on the app. That'd be great. The other issue is that these days you don't have as many parking options as you did a few years ago. So these days, if that lot is full, technically the Mickey and Friends lot and or structure and the Pixar Pal structure are two different things, but they are connected. And the majority of the time, you can only get into the Pixar Pals parking, which is fun to say, um,
Mhm.
by going through the Mickey and Friends parking toll booths. If you try to go around the corner, it's kind of a crapshoot. You don't know if you're going to be able to actually get into that parking lot or not because it's usually closed. And if it is closed, it's a long drive back to the front of that lot. Amanda's bringing up a map for everyone watching on YouTube.
Mhm.
You can see Disneyland Drive over here leads to Magic Way, and Magic Way is how you'd get to the Pixar Pals parking lot. Again, a lot of this is we're talking about right now. We're recording this in February 2025. Things were different before. Things will be different in the future. We know that Disneyland Forward made its way through, so Magic Way is on the block. So we'll see what they do about this at that point in time. But as I was saying, back in the day, what happened is if the lot was full, they would just forward you through to the Simba lot, which is a big parking lot that's over behind the Pixar Place Hotel. These days, I don't know if they actually send you there. I think that's exclusively down on Disney parking now. Um, so if they send you down the road, they're going to send you way down the road where you're going to turn left onto Catella, then right onto Harbor, which isn't even on the map right now. And then you'll turn left into the Toy Story parking lot, which is not a bigger lot, but it usually has more, it has less people trying to get to it because more people are familiar with the Mickey and Friends parking structure.
So,
The other
as
issue
somebody
too
who's
that you
never
have-
been,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, as somebody who's never been to Disneyland, parking would stress me out. It looks like a complete cluster.
it is a complete cluster, and with this Toy Story parking lot, this walkway right here goes right to the convention center. So if there's anything happening at the Anaheim Convention Center, which is often enough, then a lot of people will park at the Toy Story parking lot and walk over because it's like a 2 to 5 minute walk.
Is it a moving walkway?
It is not a moving.
There are no
walkway.
moving walkways. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is the parking situation. And this is the light situation that I was talking about here. So you have the carpool lane. I wish I could draw on this. This would be great. To get to Disneyland Drive here.
Mm-hmm.
So you're waiting at that light, but then you have the option to either go straight at the intersection of Ball and Disneyland Drive, which is a 5-minute wait I was telling you about, or this white section here in the middle is the bridge that Kevin was referring to that goes up and over to get to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way spoke to get into the Mickey and Friends parking structure.
All right. So very different than Walt Disney World.
Yes.
But also the space allocation for the Walt Disney World parks is very, very different. I'm not envious for you guys. So when you guys visit Walt Disney World, you guys never have issues with parking there, right?
Well, I mean, we are the typical people who are from out of town. So we fly into Disney World and then we usually, like the few times that we've had a rental car, we just take that to the hotel, then take Disney transportation everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think that's why parking isn't as huge of an issue for Walt Disney World is because it's not a commuter park. You have so many more people using transportation, especially with the cost of parking at resorts and stuff. Like, yeah, you have a lot more people just using that free transportation from their resorts. Which,
on top of that, though, also for Disney World, you have the different parks spread out.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, you have everyone parking for both of these theme parks in
and
one
the convention center.
And the convention center when that happens, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the convention center, to be fair, it does have its own separate parking structure. So it's just if there's overflow or if there's an event with enough Disney nerds who also have, like, I say Disney nerds out of love, by the way, I'm one of them. who has a magic key with parking, they're going to pay less parking if they go over to the Toy Story lot instead. So that's kind of you don't have that problem in Florida. Let's be clear.
No.
And then also too, there's so many different places to park in Florida. You can park at the transportation depot. You can park, and take the monorail in, or there's different avenues of transportation that doesn't require you to park all in one central location. But I think too, it's interesting that it's always touted that Disneyland is a locals park. Yet locals still drive there. And on the other side of the Esplanade, you do have public transportation. You have the ride shares, you have the buses and everything like that. But I feel like even locals are driving there just for the ease of it. So that's definitely
local. Yeah, I think local is also kind of a relative term, right? Where for us, we live an hour and a half away from the parks, and we kind of feel like we're locals, but there isn't public transportation that we could take from our house to the park. That's not really an option.
So yes, while it is primarily a park where people who are geographically local travel to, it doesn't seem like it's as convenient for locals. Because, I mean, if you're staying at some of the hotels that are closer, you can just walk right there, I have all my friends that stay from out of state. They just stay at the resort. They walk straight into the parks. They just have to cross a couple streets. So it seems like while we touted it as a local park, it's not as convenient for you guys, it seems.
Right. Oh yeah. There's been times where we've stayed local just because we know it's going to be a late night or something like that, and we try and walk over whenever we can from our hotel, but even so, there's some areas that are not pedestrian friendly. So certain areas a lot of areas are, but there's some areas that, like, we could use an overhead bridge, to cross some streets. Or that moving walkway would be really cool.
I was thinking that. I was like, the moving walkways would make so much sense. I'm jumping into an idea really quick, but imagine how much faster people would be getting back to their stinking cars and getting out of the lot to make room for more people to come in, or just have a constant flow instead of everybody slowly making their way to their cars. I think it would add an element of ease to it, but
absolutely.
And they have that at other parks, like over in Orlando at their Universal Studios. All of their parking structures have moving walkways taking you toward that front gate.
They do.
So the technology's out there, and it has been used at theme parks. We just haven't seen it at a Disney park yet.
Yes. All right. Do you guys want to hear from one of our sponsors before we continue this conversation?
I would love to hear from a sponsor.
Who do you want to hear from first, Amanda? Who should we put up there?
Let's talk about where in the park. What were they all about?
So we can talk about where in the park they can fix parking. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey fam, what scavenger hunt are you doing?
Well, we are doing Where in the Park.
Do you guys know Where in the Park? Because we do.
We do. So how you play this is that they give you a deck of cards with an image on it, and you get to look around and see where in the park that is.
And they're fun. So if you like to find stuff, this is what you need to do.
The amazing game. We're in the park right here.
If you're a seasoned Disney park goers, as we are, it's a fun, challenging even for the hardcore Disney parks fan.
We have played the Where in the Park games that we felt like, we got
still a challenge.
Oh no, yeah, still a challenge, a fun challenge though, not an impossible challenge.
They get
really close to details, and you're like, I have never even seen that. I don't even know.
Where in the park have I seen that?
The great thing about these is that they're not in attractions and they're out in the open places. It's meant for families to play.
Besides people who've been there a lot, it's fun for people that are new to the parks as well, because you catch some of those details that you would probably miss when you're first going.
So there's images that you are finding on one side of the card, and then the other has the hint and the answer that you can reveal if you choose to.
Before it was just the hint and the answer, but now if you really want the land,
It'll tell you
they'll
where.
give you the land for an extra hint. You guys can take as long as you wish without the hint.
Yeah.
Without the hint, it's hard.
But that's what makes it fun.
But they do not just do Disney parks, obviously. What other parks do you guys actually cover?
Universal and
yeah.
all that good stuff.
East
SeaWorld.
Coast, West Coast, and they're
Yes.
continuing to expand even more after that.
Check them out, weareinthepark.com, if you need to get some game packs. They are so much fun.
We appreciate We're in the Park.
You know, they're awesome.
We love
Kevin and
that.
Amanda.
Get you some We're in the Park today.
Hell yeah.
Use promo code Walt's APT Podcast to save 10% at weareinthepark.com.
Yay! Get you somewhere in the park. Yes, yes. All right. So we were talking about the parking situation. Kevin, do you have any other fun facts about parking?
You know, there's so much information. I mean, there's a few things I wanted to cover. Like the original parking lot over at Disneyland was 100 acres, and it had 12,175 spots. Over time, they actually added more spots to it. Before they closed it all for California Adventure, it had 15,167 spaces right in front of the park, which is kind of amazing considering that when they built the structure, it didn't have that many spaces. So they were kind of chasing their own tails, what it kind of felt like. And they still are, I think, in some ways. That's also partly why we're having the same issue that we were talking about earlier in the show. Other great things here. As far as like the price goes, we didn't even touch that. I don't know if we're going to touch that. That's not really an Imagineering issue as far as I know. Obviously, the original Imagineer was Walt Disney, and he set the price for parking at 25 cents. And it was at that price for his entire lifetime. He was adamant that it needed to stay that price. There's actually a quote out there from Sam McKim, the son of Matt McKim, who we talked to in the last 2 episodes, where he explained, let me see if I feel like I've lost the quote. I was about to say, oh, here it is. He says, he was actually talking about the Pirates Arcade in New Orleans Square. I found out, like, diving into this topic, where he was saying the reason why they had the low prices on those games was because we were following Walt's philosophy about this. He didn't even want to raise the price of parking, which stayed at 25 cents for years. He didn't mind making money off the park. He didn't want to make money off the parking. He wanted to give the public a good deal. That was Sam McKim's viewpoint of Walt. And yeah, so with that said, the price has gone up a little bit over the years. It
just a little.
It hasn't stayed with inflation. Like the 25 cents, I was using the consumer price index. They have like a calculator from the government where you can see what prices were back in 55 versus today. 25 cents in 55 is $2.96 today. So if it had just gone for inflation, it'd be a $3 price to park. That's what Walt would have been probably okay with. But no, it's a little more now. I believe it's $30 or $35. It's $30 over in Walt Disney World. Whereas over in Disneyland, it is, I believe it's, $35 to start. Then it costs more for if you want preferred parking. Preferred parking is just a little bit closer to the trams. If you're staying at the Mickey and Friends parking lot, it doesn't get you any closer to the park. It just has it where you're closer to the elevators and the escalators to get down to where the trams are. Again, it's kind of hard to visualize this probably if you've never been there before.
No, I mean, I'm getting it, but
yeah, there are 6 stories to the Mickey and Friends parking lot, which shares those same 6 stories with the Pixar PAL parking structure, right? So the top 2 levels have it where one escalator goes down to one flight to another escalator that goes down the remaining 5 flights. When it was built, I believe it was the largest outdoor escalator in the entire world. I don't think it still is, but I couldn't find anything to really say it isn't. So we'll just say for now, maybe it is. Then the next 2 floors have the same setup where one floor has one escalator that goes down one floor, then the next one goes down the remaining 3. And then the Daisy level 2 goes down the one last floor. So that's kind of like the setup on one side where you have these huge escalators that go down to where the restrooms are. If you go behind where they let you out, you go straight ahead. Nowadays, you can head either straight ahead and turn right into where they have the security zone, where they're going to check your bags before you get into the trams. Or you can go ahead to another bank of escalators to go up a flight or two to get to the pedestrian bridge that'll take you for I don't know how many thousands of feet from there over to the downtown Disney security checkpoint to get into the backside of downtown Disney.
So also
So
not a
those are your
moving walkway.
0 moving walkways this entire way. I remember the first time I went to Disneyland back in 2001. Like, I mean, that wasn't my first time going to Disneyland. My first time going to the parking structure, though, in 2001. And thinking, oh, that's weird. They haven't put in the moving walkways yet. Assuming that they would be coming soon. But they have never shown up. I don't know if there's not... there might not be enough room for it. I think I've heard... in my research here, I've read things like they pushed the limit of the number of spaces that they could put into this parking structure so tightly that they didn't have enough room to be able to put in moving walkways.
Yeah. So I'm sharing my screen again, just so you have the visual. And if you're listening to us on audio and you want the visual as well, head on over to YouTube. You can see what we're talking about. So this gray and blue stripe, that is the kind of combination area where the two sides of the like where everybody meets, and then the overhang on the left, to the left of the trees, is where the security is, and then you'd board the tram underneath that. So the escalators that he's talking about are these like longer things in white. So at the top you have the Mickey and Friends escalators, and then at the bottom here you have the Pixar PAL parking or escalators. And then the walkway that he's referring to, which is on floor 2, the Coco level, which makes sense. You have a bridge that takes you over, and it goes this whole trek,
Absolutely not. You're joking.
All the way over to get to this security checkpoint, these green boxes here. If that is backed up, which it typically is, then you have to like go all the way around to get to the other security checkpoint over here. So it's a lot of walking right off the bat if you choose to not take the tram in. And that is your first hour at the park.
Yeah.
So just to give you
how long are the tram lines?
Depends on the day. The day and the time of day.
Depends on how many they end up running too. It could be 15-20 minute wait if it's backed up, or you could walk right on. It really just depends. So
okay.
Yeah, there's a time when you can actually cross the street from the area like where that circle and walkway are today, because they obviously when they first opened the Mickey and Friends parking structure, they didn't have the Pixar parking structure as well. That was added many years later. And you used to be able to walk across the street, and there was another entrance that was a lot easier to get to for downtown Disney, but they shut that down when they reconfigured everything to have it where you had to go through security to get into downtown Disney. So the easy way was taken out also several years ago. So now it's kind of just the long trek to the back of the little district there.
There's also, so if you do the security checkpoint at the trams, you don't have to do the next one, right? The trams take you right in. Okay, gotcha.
You're right in downtown Disney through security.
Gotcha.
Right. But you're taking that gamble of like which will be faster. The the one at the structure and then the tram, or to walk all the way down to the old ESPN zone and try those out. Now there's 3 security checkpoints over at that end of downtown Disney, which is really nice. But the lines can still be pretty lengthy, either one, because you have people coming in from all directions. So
sounds exhausting.
They don't have the security like hardware like they do at Disney Springs or at Epcot, where you can just kind of walk through it casually. They stop and check your bag manually for every single person with a bag, and everyone has a bag. And then
And
you
the
go through just
stroller.
a set of metal detectors, and yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely
So
a wait.
definitely something that can be plussed.
Yeah, that one's high on my list for sure.
Like, we're not
Along with the
talking
moving
security
walkways.
checkpoints. I mean, I guess we could talk about security checkpoints for the Mickey and Friends, but other parking areas, it isn't really the main point of that. They don't have that built into them. As far as I can think of, nothing at Walt Disney World has the security checkpoint kind of in the parking lot. It's not
Right.
until you actually get to the front gate.
Right. I mean, even Toy
As far
Story,
as
the
our
Toy Story
armchair.
lot doesn't have the security checkpoint. It's not
I
until you
think-
get off the bus and get to the Esplanade that you go
Yep.
through the security.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't been to the Toy Story lot in a long time, but they've changed some things. I was looking at the map on it, where they do have like a little gated area where they have the buses that will take you over to the park, and they have restrooms over there, which I didn't even know about until a week or two ago.
We were studying for
So,
the.
like,
That's
usually when we park there, we just park and then just puff it. We walk over off of Harbor to the entrance off that side of the park.
Gotcha.
But
Do you have
that's the
any
other
more?
thing.
Still no moving walkways.
Yeah, speaking of restrooms, I did want to add that they built the Pixar section of the parking structure. They did not include another set of bathrooms. So if you are parked there and you want to take the bridge over, you have to like the walkway, you have to go down the escalators, cross over security, like that security past everybody, go to the bathrooms there, and then book it back. So I don't understand why they didn't put another set of bathrooms. There's also only one water refill station, and it's after you get through security, like in between the security and the trams. So I'm not sure the logistics of that, but they obviously had piping enough to do a water fountain. And since they were building everything from scratch, I was hopeful that they were going to have another set of bathrooms, but we didn't get it. So instead, we just wait in line for a while for bathroom.
That is asinine. Honestly, like the way you just explained that to me makes no sense whatsoever. No
So
sense.
that's why I wanted to talk about it.
in all my research to maybe make some sense out of this, the original structure was built by several different companies. So I understand that it was kind of led by Imagineering, but they did have a different architecture firm that they worked with primarily, who had other contractors that they worked with. Like there's one company out there where you can find their website at murraycompany.com, where they did all of the plumbing. All the plumbing was this one company. So I don't know, like, as far as what they were up to or what the price was to like put in that one drinking fountain versus putting in an entire restroom. But
I wonder if it was just like, I don't know. I want to say they were men who didn't plan on women needing extra bathrooms. But maybe part of that is having so many different hands in the pot trying to make something, and ideas get lost when everybody's not, being concise and coming back together with their ideas. So I don't know.
And another point, though, besides the men not thinking about women's
Sorry,
restroom
Kevin.
The original parking structure was actually paid for by a bond, by a 40-year bond back in 1996. It was agreed on by the city of Anaheim, and that parking structure is actually owned by the city of Anaheim. And
so this is their fault.
The Disney company leases that parking structure for $1 a year. So that's kind of like the current situation we have with this parking structure, where it's not technically owned by Disney. They've obviously upgraded it, I believe, with their own money, where they added a new elevator shaft to the Mickey and Friends side, and obviously they added the Pixar Pal parking, I believe, was all paid for with Disney money. I don't think that was part of the bond, which is probably why they didn't splurge on a restroom over there, because it wasn't paid for with city money. It was paid for with company money.
At the same time, like it seems like common sense. If you're going to double the capacity, you're going to need double the facilities. And that bathroom, it's a good size, but it's not the biggest. If you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people, hundreds of which are coming in at the same time, they've traveled some distance to be there, they're going to need to use the facilities, especially the littles. So we need a lot more restrooms. I just don't understand it.
And before that long walk with the non-movable walkways. Everybody's got to get their bathroom breaks in.
Because we have to go so bad that we're like, if we just keep moving, we'll get to, by that point, if the line is too long for the that first security checkpoint by the old ESPN zone, we just go to the Disneyland hotel and use the restroom there, because it's a lot faster than going through the security at the parking structure and or waiting in line for the bathrooms at the parking structure.
So not only are the parking structures causing stress, but they're probably also causing incontinence as well. Okay.
This is true.
Side note from being silly. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But you know what does make a whole lot of sense?
What?
Going with Getaway Today for all your travel planning. So I think we should hear from them real quick, see what deals they have going on, and we'll be right back to talk some strategies on how we can plus this.
It's been a great show so far, but who's ready for an ad break? Did you know that the best way to keep our shows going is by supporting our sponsors? So let's get to know more about the travel experts at Getaway Today. They've been helping to make vacation dreams come true since 1990. And whether you want to visit the happiest place on earth or to travel to Orlando for a most epic adventure, they are there to help. Are you trying to find out which hotel is your best option or which theme park tickets will work best for your visit? Are you concerned that you might need a last-minute change? No worries. Their travel experts will help you out. Looking to book a cruise but don't know where to start? Hey, they can help with that too. They will find the perfect cruise for your vacation, whether it's your first time or you're a well-seasoned cruiser. When you book your cruise with one of the Getaway Today experts, you will have a dedicated agent to help you every step of the way. They take care of the details so you can have the most fun. Getaway Today offers peace of mind travel, allowing you to cancel or make changes up to 72 hours before your trip. You will always have the most up-to-date vacation information, both pre-arrival and upon welcome. Getaway Today guarantees the best prices, with no hidden fees, and every time you book through Getaway Today, they will donate a portion back to a charitable organization in your area. And so far, over $4.5 million have been donated. So go ahead and dial 1-855-GETAWAY, that's 1-855-438-2929, and be sure to tell them that Walt's Apartment sent you. Or just click the link in our show notes for more information and the best deals to start your Disney, Universal Studios, or cruise vacation planning. What I'm trying to say is, if you like to travel, check out Getaway Today. Alright, so now it's time to get back to enjoying that view from Walt's apartment. Let's get back to the show.
Welcome back. Be sure to contact Getaway Today to plan your next Disney trip and hopefully listen to this episode to get all of your tips and tricks on how to make your parking situation more efficient. All right.
Yeah, with that, I wanted to mention for anyone who hasn't been to Disneyland before, if you do stay at one of the neighbor hotels over off Harbor, you cannot stay parked there on the day that you are leaving. So if you go on a Saturday night thinking, hey, I'm going to stay the night here on Saturday, then just walk across the street to the park, you can't, because you can't leave your car parked there. You'll have to drive your car all the way around to the parking structure, which in the morning can take about an hour. So just a heads up on that.
Yeah, that is a good tip.
Yeah, we've
made that mistake
experienced that firsthand. and it is crazy. You think, oh, I am a block away from the parking structure. I should be able to park within a matter of minutes. No, you're not going to see your family for some time if you've split up. It's just insane. So, yeah, be sure to do your research as far as how to best get to the park. Plan accordingly. See if you can take rideshare or walk, depending on where your hotel is and where you came from. Take a shuttle to the airport, that kind of thing. So,
and if you're hesitant about any of those things and you're struggling in finding research, hop into our absolutely free Discord. We'll talk to you. We'll tell you what our experience has been, and you can get some more tips and tricks from us. So we're always happy to do that, and our Discord's absolutely free. So come look us up. So strategies, solutions, plussing, reimagining. What do we got?
Yeah. Well, I have a number of ideas. One, getting back to what we were talking about, in that we're stopping on the freeway. Kevin brought up a good point of the app needs to be utilized, or some way they already know if you have a reservation for the day. So it should be, hey, the current wait time of the parking structure is 45 minutes, or something like that. So that way we can plan ahead of, okay, we need to move our food reservation, we need to move our mobile order, or we need to leave earlier, or whatever the case might be. So that way, or at least we're informed of what the current situation is, because we didn't point out beforehand, but there are a number, I don't even know how many like ticket booths they have in the parking structure, but every time we've gone, they are staffed. So it's not like they aren't staffed and there's opportunities there. They are typically well staffed, and some of them they're cranking it out. There is not a line just for like magic key holders or anything like that. So some are still paying by cash or card or with their tickets. I know that some parks like Six Flags will use like their speedy entry, or I think that's what they call it, speedy entry, where they already know your license plate. So when you get there, the camera looks at your license plate and says, all right, you're good to go. So if they implemented something like that, it could even just be tied to your magic key, which again, they know you have a reservation linked to it. Then they can just have a lane or multiple for that. And we are zipping right along. So that's one of my suggestions.
What are your thoughts on being able to reserve parking in a specific structure? Like you would Spot Hero here, like when I'm in the city and I'm like, hey, I want to make sure I have a parking spot, and I'm able to reserve it on the app, and they save that spot for me. So you cannot go into the parking structure if you've not already pre-reserved your spot.
That's interesting. I know that right now you can prepay for parking for a standard parking spot, which is great. They need to have that. But as far as saying, hey, I'm going to be at this parking structure, I don't know. It's a tough one because of logistics on it. I feel like if you did that, like they can take a reservation, but I don't know if they can actually keep a reservation. They would just let you know, oh yeah, I'm sorry, your spot was taken. I think would be angering a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I don't think, well, that's the thing is like you wouldn't be able to go into the garage at all if you didn't have a reservation. So I think that would be a possible option. But I agree with Amanda, being able to, you need to be able to see on the app. They know how many spaces are available. Yeah. And it's such a simple thing. But I mean, the app has issues often. So Maybe not, but
Oh yeah, I didn't mention it. Back in 2019, they actually added sensors to every single spot in the parking structure.
They're weighted. Yep.
So they know every single spot. Well, I say they know every single spot. They are a little buggy. Sometimes it'll say that a spot is taken even when it's not, or vice versa. But they have a general idea of how many spots are available in every row of that parking structure. I'm sure it's tied to a computer that someone has access to, that they can have at least say, hey, there's plenty of parking in the structure, so we know that we can keep telling people to come into it.
Yeah. And that's how they decide to close the garage or not. Well, they
used to just do it anyway. I don't know how they did it before.
Maybe maybe they had somebody there with the clicker counting the cars coming in.
Right. No, I know that I think that there's a big missed opportunity for efficiency when it comes to loading the parking structure, because after you've gone through the ticket booth, you're funneled into one of two or three lanes, which is also kind of a nightmare because people don't know how to zipper merge. But you're funneled up to certain ramps to take you to certain floors. And then there's a cast member that will guide you to a specific row, and then a cast member to guide you to a specific spot. And depending on how cars are, they might skip over a spot because that driver's already swung open their door, and we can't allow for a backup, so they just move on to the next spot. Well, that causes an opening, and they don't go back to that row. Once that row is filled, they're on to the next row. So the way that things are loaded, like after it gets to a certain point, there's no cast members up there to direct you, and it's kind of a free-for-all. So if you go in the afternoon, you could be doing the lazy river with 20 other cars looking for a parking spot. So I don't think that I think that there's opportunities for the loading to be more efficient, especially in the latter part of the day. Because like Kevin said, those sensors aren't accurate all the time. And it could be on the preferred zone, and you don't realize it until you get up there, and you're circling around for a lot longer than you need to.
And minus the sensors being an issue, I've been in actual parking garages where the app for that garage or for that parking situation will tell me like how many are available on each floor. So I'm not like slowing down. I mean, obviously I'm not going speedy fast. I'm not trying to take anybody's kid out, but I'm not like taking my sweet time trying to find a parking spot on floor 3 if I see there's no parking on floor 3. If there's
really quick, for everyone who isn't from the Disneyland area, like Sam here, you need to know that you do not get to choose your floor at the Mickey and Friends parking structure.
I understand that. But I'm saying so even when they've filled everything up?
Even when they filled everything up, they still guide you to a specific floor.
Okay.
You're doing the lazy, also the way that the parking structure is set up there is different than a normal parking structure. Just to help kind of visualize it here. When they first opened it, it was opposite of what it is today as far as the way your car is parked. But right now you go up the ramp, then you hook an immediate right down the first row. That's what you currently do. You go to the end of that row, hook a left. If you're lucky, you'll make it past the first row. And then you'll go down to wherever either they guide you or wherever you feel lucky. Like based off of the number that they say there are spots available. If you get there early in the day, though, you'll be guided to an exact row where they will tell you to turn left down that one row. There are only left turns down that stretch. Once you get down into your row, though, if you cannot find a spot at that later in the day time, the reason why she says it's a lazy river is that you can't just turn left and then left again down the next row near you. You're going all the way back to that first row, turning left again, and trying it again. You don't get to go up and down rows like at a mall or any other parking lot in the entire world. This one's set up where it is one way for every single row of parking.
So That doesn't sound reasonable to me at all.
No.
So
and there are sections at the end of the rows that do have the number. They did add those. I don't think it's on every floor though.
I think it's on every floor.
But it's also not accurate to the number of available spaces because it could count the handicap spaces. It doesn't. There's no distinction.
Yeah.
Until you get down there,
and then you
realize,
have people who park in 2 spaces.
That's the big issue
people that
there,
park
Sam.
Exactly. And so you're like, oh, okay, well, there's not actually 20 spots. There's 1 spot, and it was way back there. And so now I have to go all the way around, like Kevin said. So that's why I refer to it as a lazy river, because there's certain times of day where like it's just all of you guys. You're seeing the same cars. Go
Another fun fact about the Mickey and Friends side of the parking structure, because again, it's all one structure, but that one is longer than the Pixar PAL side. A lot of things back in the day talking about this parking structure like to say the length of it is the same length as the height of the Chrysler building, which I can't visualize because I don't live near that. But if you know Disneyland at all, it's the length of the turnstiles to the castle. So if you're able to go through the train station, just like walking straight ahead, it is that same length. So when you're parked at the very end of that parking structure, just to get to the walkway to start heading toward the escalators, you're going from the turnstiles to the castle.
I believe that.
If you try to go diagonally, obviously it's going to be faster, but it's even longer than that would be. So
and at this
you're
point,
doing the entire trek of the park.
They can't even structurally fix that without gutting the whole thing.
Yes.
Like structurally, obviously there's procedural things that can be changed, but structurally they can't even fix that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There are areas where at the end of each row, there is a longer walkway for pedestrians to walk. But to Kevin's point, you have to walk all the way down there in order to get to that pedestrian-only walkway. So depending on where you're at, it is faster to just zigzag through the cars in the parking lot to get to where you need to go. But even so, there's not really a spot for a two-way moving walkway in that it's just not designed for it. But that would be great if they added one. But also within this structure, doesn't matter what floor you're on, there are no trash cans until you get to the walkway, like the main walkway at the end of each row. So even if you get there early in the morning, there might be trash everywhere. And it is so sad to see because people are gross. But I also don't know the custodial side on the back end of what's happening there. But it's not that hard to add trash cans. And like, it just reminds me of what we were talking about with like trash cans in the parks and how they're like every 6 feet because that's where people would leave their trash. There's structural beams in the parking structure where there's like a gap, obviously you're not going to park right there. That is where trash cans should be. And I don't understand why that's not the case. So if we could please add some trash cans, that would be fabulous.
That is such a simple thing. And like we were saying before, that is your first exposure to the park that day and your last. Like, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And such a minor... Sorry, Kevin, what?
At Walt Disney World, are there trash cans throughout the parking lot? I don't remember how Disneyland used to be set up.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Just because I don't know, like, from an insurance standpoint, if you have to explain, like, we're paying our custodial staff to walk through an active parking lot all day. I don't know if that becomes the issue. Just to play devil's advocate as far as why that wouldn't happen. But
we've seen them where they're on it's not like a golf cart, but it's like a little maintenance cart where they're
like
tooling around and stuff. You can easily have some trash bags on there and swap it out. I don't get it.
there's also the health of paying people to walk around all day in a parking structure, which they're already doing with security, obviously. But
Right.
yeah, you do have health concerns about being around running cars all day long.
Yeah, but if you put them on like one of those little gator things, like the golf cart gator things Amanda was just talking about.
You're still out. You're still inside of a parking structure for your entire workday.
Well, maybe it's just part of their custodial shift. They swap out. Like, you'd be like, hey, you have an hour and you have an hour. I don't know.
Or
Who
get
says
some robots? What are we doing?
Yeah, right. That's where we need to get to.
build chutes underneath the trash cans and just have them fall to the
There it
base, and
is.
somebody collects it at the bottom.
Yeah, I think like the utilidors at Disney, at Magic Kingdom specifically, have like the vacuum.
Yeah, they do.
Trash stuff. So if you get that technology in there, just have where your trash goes right into it would be fun too. So people would be wanting to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It's an idea.
All right. What else do we have?
I have an idea right from the start, which I don't know why they haven't done this yet. Specifically for the Mickey and Friends parking structure. I'm sure they can use it also at Disney World. Let people know the pricing before they get to the actual toll booth. Have some signs up saying, hey, this is how much we're charging now for pricing. Have a little QR code there. Hey, you can scan ahead. It's how you've paid before you get up here. Especially at Disneyland, where you are stopped for minutes at a time. It's not like it's dangerous to say, hey, you know what? If you want for this to go faster, just scan this. And
or have your cash
you'll be able
ready.
to get there. Yeah, one or the other. But they have no signs at all until you get to the very front. Then they have like TV screens with the current price.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
I've done a lot of zoos where they have parking staff walking through with kind of like they do, like, I don't know how your guys' Chick-fil-A's are, but they take our orders outside and they just walk through and they're scanning.
I was thinking of In and Out.
Yeah. They could have more staff members there doing parking instead of just, because then you get, 3 staff members per toll booth?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about the toll booths over there is that sometimes they have one person working both sides of the toll booth, which Amanda didn't bring up earlier, which can slow down both lines, where one person's taking the money from the two sides. They have the setup to be able to handle like one person for each side all the time, but sometimes someone is out, so that one person handles both sides, and it kind of slows things down.
Right. But I really like the idea that you were talking about of having that QR code to pay beforehand, because then you can merge it with like the speedy entry that I was talking about earlier, where you can put in your license plate, and then by the time you get up there, they already know you've already paid. Let's roll. You don't need the little ticket to say, your receipt that you paid. You already have that. Like, it's already within the app or, whatever platform you're using to do all that. So,
what's even crazier about that? On the Disneyland website, when you go to their parking page, it lets you know that they do have license plate reading technology that you should be aware of. They are scanning your plate when you go in.
But they're not doing anything to benefit with that data. They're just collecting the data.
They seem like they're using it for security more so than for anything else. Like, they're checking your plate to see if you're a felon, I guess. It's what it kind of like has the vibe of.
Hey, guess what? You can still go if you're a felon.
Yeah, but then they'll have security there and the police know. So I think they're just kind of giving you a heads up of like, if you come to our park, like, we're going to check you. If you're doing anything weird in the parking lot, like, we'll have your information. So.
But the fact that
they can use that for parking. Yeah, they have it already there. Yeah. I don't know at what point they're using it. So I don't know if that's as you're going up the ramp or if it's actually there at the toll booth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Another thing I was thinking, something that I've had an issue with before. I don't know how it works as far as like the world of cell signals goes, but if they can improve their cell service in that parking structure, because again, Sam, like when you go into like the parking area, and everyone else listening who hasn't been there before, you're going straight ahead underneath all of those other 6 levels of parking structure. So by the time you get to the toll booth, you're at the other end of the parking structure, kind of like in the middle there, really, or like I guess you would say like probably what 3/4 of the way through, and that's where you are stopped to show them your magic key on your cell phone because you don't have a physical pass at Disneyland. So you can't just like pull it out. You have to like stop and wait for that to load, which I'm sure also slows everyone down behind you as well. And I'm sure everyone who's prepaid for parking needs to do a similar thing with a QR code or a barcode. So the fact that cell service isn't that great down there doesn't help the cause for speeding up the line at all.
That is a very valid point.
Yeah, and we were talking about too when we were brainstorming for this of like everything is hooked up to your Magic Band. Why not a way to pay for parking? Like your Magic Key is on your Magic Band. I should be able to stick out my arm, you tap it, and I'm gone. Like
because your card, yeah. I mean, your card's already connected to it.
Yeah. So why do I have to
Disney World, you can use your Magic Band for parking.
Yeah.
Because I've done it there before. I think the one time we had a car like back in 2020, we went there for the holidays. It's the only time I ever parked a car at a Disney World park, and I used my Magic Band and it worked fine. They were like, "Yep, I see that you're staying with us. Have a great day." You know?
But there's a lot of things that you
they
can
say.
do with your Magic Band at Walt Disney World that you can't do in Disneyland.
They have zero functionality out here other than getting through the door. And
but that's something that I don't understand. Why? The technology exists. It's working sufficiently in your other parks.
I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think
to me.
they just want to make you guys pull your hair out.
Working.
Okay. So those are some options there, though. Trash cans, moving walkways, bathroom.
Yeah.
Being able to prepay while you're in line and using the license plate technology to be able to smartly just move your way through and not having to stop at all. Or using your Magic Band to tap and pay.
Yeah.
Those are all very... I mean, the bathroom...
Simple.
I mean, the bathroom...
Yeah, the bathroom.
I mean, but that's a little harder. And that's... Yeah. But everything else seems like it's pretty reasonable.
All right, so now to get unreasonable. You want to go into your fun ideas, or want to do an ad break before that? What are we thinking?
Well, yeah, let's hear from Sunken City Designs, because we have some other great ideas to brainstorm about too.
I can't wait.
But yeah, let's hear from Lou.
Sunken City Designs brings you art. Do you like art? What about Disney characters like Mickey Mouse and the Oyster Thief? You know, that's actually from Alice in Wonderland, the best princess movie ever made. Also, we have some dwarfs that have their heads ripped off sometimes. Why? I don't know. It's because it's Sunken City Design. So go there, sunkencitydesign.com. Get yourself some great merchandise. You got posters and, I believe, clothes. Who knows? I got a cup from there, and it's fantastic. Do you like cups? Do you ever use those? I do. Go for it. Oh yeah, sweatshirts. Can't forget about those. If you're ever cold, get yourself a sweatshirt from sunkencitydesign.com. Also, WALL-E. You know, that's the best movie ever made. Second only to Alice in Wonderland. All right, if you also like Walt's Apartment, they have merch for that too. Where? sunkencitydesign.com. Hopefully you've already loaded up that site and you're looking at it and you have some items in your cart. Go ahead and check out as soon as you can because the show's about to come back on. All right, everybody, we appreciate you.
We do appreciate Lou, and we're very sad that he isn't here because he also has firsthand experience with the parking situation at Disneyland. So when he's on next time, we'll definitely get his ideas as to how we can plus it. So, but yes, check out Sunken City Designs and get yourself some art. All right, so before we went to break, Kevin said that he has some fun ideas. Kevin, what do you have?
All right, so my first fun idea, right? Because of the lack of moving walkways, I was reading that they don't have the space for it, right? That's the reason why they axed it from the plan. So I was thinking what they could do instead is use Lanny Smoot's hollow tile technology. If you guys went to D23 or heard about this at D23, they've created technology where there's like little tiles that spin that move things in directions. And it was moving full size people. Like it can do it. It can handle it pretty easily. They said it was fairly cheap and reliable, hard to break. I don't see why they wouldn't. They had a very small spot where they snuck it into on a show floor. I think they could get it anywhere. So I think they would be able to solve the issue as far as, hey, we now have a moving walkway. Just throw it in wherever you need it. And it can actually, I mean, as long as you put like guardrails on it, so people don't just fall over, you know, and have like a moving arm with it too, or whatever, like you would normally see on a moving walkway. I think it might be able to solve this problem that they're having with it. And it wouldn't be heavy either, which I think is also the issue with the parking structure, is that weight becomes an issue. So I was thinking that'd be fun. So why is it not there? If they can figure that out and like cover the walkway that they have, make it all hotels all the way down, it'd be something that people would be in line to even experience. So
yeah,
that's idea number one. And then my
that's
other
a
idea.
really fun idea.
Oh, next one.
I
Right.
think all like with the Cocoa Bridge and everything, like just make it all the way down there.
Exactly.
That would be awesome.
They said it was easy to balance on. I mean, I didn't get to try it because they weren't like just random guy off the street stand on their stuff, but
you should have been
but
like,
they were
do you
doing
know
it.
who I am? I'm Kevin.
I'm going to be talking about you later. Can I try this out so I know firsthand? I'm going to be vouching for you guys. Let me do this. I'm still vouching for them either way. It looks great. I would love to see it used in that, because like when I asked Lanny or one of the other Imagineers that was by that, like what their plan was for that technology, and like he was like, I was like, because I think I actually worded it as like, what ride is going to use this? And he was like, well, we were thinking of like beyond attractions, just for like moving people like through areas. Like, so it's an idea that they have. It's something that is, I mean, I'm not the first person to think like, hey, we can use this technology to actually solve a problem that we have here. Because right now you have a lot of people walking a long distance in those parking areas that you just, it sounds like you could throw this in pretty easily. And if it gets jammed up, it's really easy to pop one out and fix it within like, minutes. So
that sounds exciting.
That sounds awesome. And that would also help with that would also help with our bottleneck situation that we were talking about in parade routes in nighttime spectacular. So
the problem is you probably have people like walking against it the whole time if they're in parade routes. But I like the idea though. Just like, hey, everyone get out. That's how you make everyone exit the tiki room quicker, right out. So my other idea though is to replace the trams with trackless ride vehicles. So if you have it where each ride vehicle looks similar to like an old like people mover, it will seem like it's people mover technology, but it's advanced. And have it where there's multiple roads, in quotes, that will be able to get you from the structure or wherever you're parked to the park. So that way, if something does break down, there's other paths around it. So that way, you're not just like broken for the day, like we've had with other trackless technology. So those are my two fun ideas.
I don't know. Why haven't we thought of this before? That just makes so much sense. Like to load like a people mover.
Yeah.
And like everybody would just, no more waiting in line, just go. I mean,
those trams are not easy to get into.
No.
Especially when you're trying to get strollers and little kids and stuff into them. You definitely need a wider vehicle.
Yeah. To have it where it can fit a wheelchair, one of those like whatever ATV guys, not ATV, but whatever they're called, the electric scooters. ECV, is that? I don't know.
ECV?
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. So they can design these vehicles pretty easily to have it where it can handle the crowd and not have to worry about all these trams that just take forever sometimes. So
good ideas, Kevin.
Yeah, if it's a trackless ride system too, like those that need more space can have those in one little area wheel themselves, and then once they're all situated and stuff, then they just join the rest of the cars.
The reason why I was thinking it had to be trackless, at least for where the trams are today, is because I know that part of that road is like a functional road. Like emergency crews go through that spot. So you can't just race it all with the track. It's not an option. But I believe it would be technically possible, especially with the new technology that they're showing for the Cars ride that they're putting into Magic Kingdom, where it kind of off roads with a trackless vehicle. If you have that technology, we have a spot that can really use it.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, trying to get from like the Toy Story lot over, or I haven't even brought it up, but over where the Pumbaa lot, I want to say used to be. I think it's still there, but now it's just cast member parking. So over across the street from the entrance to Disneyland, across from Harbor, there's a bunch of hotels. Disney actually bought one of those hotels years ago, and I believe they demolished it with the plan to create a entryway to Disneyland from a big parking structure that they were going to build on that side of the road. And that's still rumored to be coming soon. Like, I mean, soon in quotes, like within the next decade or two. It's something that they haven't given up on, according to all the rumors. Like, we're not like officially announcing this. We don't know anything, but everyone out there whispers that they still want to build this structure. And if you look at like the Disneyland Forward plan, the Toy Story lot, that's all earmarked for expansion of either shopping or resort or park. So they're not planning to keep that as a parking lot forever. So if you did have that other area, though, you can easily put that same technology on a bridgeway that connects over Harbor right over to the parks.
Mm-hmm. And that solves the not safe for pedestrian problem that Amanda was bringing up earlier.
Yeah. Very interesting. Good points, Kevin.
What a Disney nerd.
Yeah.
Total Disney nerd. Again, I don't work there, but I feel like I've looked up enough of their stuff to I should apply someday.
One thing that we didn't mention was within the app there is a car locator feature brought to you by State Farm that they added not too long ago, but it allows you to track where you've parked within either the Pixar parking lot or the Mickey and Friends parking structure. I think it has it for the Toy Story lot too, but it like knows which one you're at, and when you're in the Esplanade between the two parks, a notification pops up saying like, hey, remember where you parked, and you can tap on it and it'll show you like, oh hey, you're parked over at Toy Story or whatever. But like you go in and set it, so once you've gone in and parked, you open up the Disneyland app and you can set it to remind yourself where you parked, which is super convenient, because before I would just take a picture of the pole and then it would get lost in the sea of pictures, or before they gave you like the little card as the receipt and you would like circle which one you were at. But this feature in the app is actually really nice and handy. There was a glitch that Kevin experienced where it like randomly told him like, hey, remember where you parked, when we were like already an hour from the park. We were on our way home
at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's better than all of the people walking around just like clicking their alarm systems trying to find their car.
Doing that.
Why are they doing that?
Happens. I don't know if it's because not everyone has the app.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not really.
Or they just prefer that method.
I mean, maybe that's how they find excitement in life. Who knows? It adds an extra layer of fun to their departure from the parks.
True. But in terms of like enhancing the experience, if you are not familiar with that, be sure you have the Disneyland app, and it will, or it should, pop up once it recognizes that you're at the parking structures. Or you can just go into it, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it says car locator. And then you can plug in what floor you're at and what row you're in and all of that. So that's really helpful. So if everyone could please use that, that would be great because it's a really great feature. And the more people who use it, obviously, that tells them that it is worth saving and keeping around. So definitely use that. One thing that we don't really have experience with, but we know some friends who experience it firsthand, is the charging stations. So if you have an electric vehicle, there are different parts of the Mickey and Friends parking structure, Pixar parking, and the Toy Story lot that are dedicated for charging your vehicle. However, this is not enforced. And so this is like according to our friend's report who has firsthand experience in this, but people tend to park there just because they're an electric vehicle and they're not actually charging their cars, and that's not enforced. And the Toy Story lot has a lot more charging ports, but a lot of times they are down or need some sort of maintenance, and so not all of them are available. So the possible solution that they brought up was after that you'll get a notification saying, hey, your car is charged, and you have 2 hours to move it, and they have a dedicated spot for you to go and move your car after it's charged. So you don't have to go through the lazy river and everything. You have a dedicated spot to move your car to. Or you'll be charged an extra fee for every hour that your car is just sitting there. I love that idea because those who actually need to have a full charge before driving all the way home are not able to do that. And they're at the parks all day with this in the back of their mind of, hey, I only have a 20-minute charge, or, something is off and I can't get home. So having something where it's enforced, you have people there to actually enforce these things, and have that technology set up to where you're notified of, hey, you have a full charge and you have 2 hours to move your car or you'll be charged for every hour. Or have some sort of like valet option where you like give them your keys, so when it is full, they'll just move it and you don't even have to think about it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that could also be an option too. So that way, like, you don't even have to worry about it. Just give them your keys, and then once you're charged, they move it off to the side. You go collect your keys, on your way out, and you're off and running. So
or we double down on Lanny Smoot's moving tile technology. Holotile them to a different spot. Boom.
Just put the cars on them.
Yeah, why not?
Man. But yeah.
Wait, how are we getting the cars onto it though?
Well, people can drive onto it, right? And then we have it where there's just like a loading spot. So if you have an electric vehicle, you just like stop at the holotile section and they'll take care of you from there. They'll find the spot and hook you up.
It's a lot of. I don't know what the weight capacity is for one of those.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying it could happen.
It could, yes.
There's no bad ideas in a blue sky.
No, never.
No, that's fun though. I like the idea of those little pucks. I didn't even consider those.
Think of them all the time.
He's so upset that he did not ask to listen. I am an Imagineer in training. You did ask? They told you
I think
no.
so. I think it was like, oh, can I go up there? And they're like, oh no, I'm sorry, sir. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I did control it though. They had like a Wii nunchuck controller where you can like move a Disney Infinity game piece over like a smaller patch of those little tiles. And I got it going pretty fast. It was pretty fun. Yeah, I was like, what's the limit of this? They're like, we don't know yet. I'm like, awesome. So I was like pushing it around and like zipping this thing around pretty fast with these little tiles. You had like so much control over it. We can go slow or fast depending on how hard you pushed. I'm like, I like this. It has a lot of potential. So that's why I'm trying to think of where we can use it.
Or else it was going to be like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of experiment where something was going to go horribly wrong.
I would have become a blueberry or whatever.
Or like got shrunk in the little TV.
Yeah.
You would have been.
More
You
of
would
a-
have became a Disney Infinity piece.
So luckily that didn't happen this time.
There's always next time. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about parking?
Those are all the things that I have.
I
So,
think
Sam, when are you coming over to park at the parking structure?
I don't know. I got to figure that out. I really do. I said I would do it before next May. Not this upcoming May, but the next one. So we'll see.
You know, I was watching an episode from like June of 2023 recently, where you were saying, "Hey, I'm coming out later this year," so I'm still waiting for you.
That's okay. You guys will. Well, see, the way my brain thinks is in school years. I don't think calendar years. So for me,
So that school year has come and gone. A new one is coming
no.
on.
If that was June,
Yeah.
that was still the June of. Oh well, I mean, they said 2023. Yeah, we're a little far behind, so we'll figure it out.
Well, what I suggest is that when you do come out, have one of us locals drive. That
Oh yeah,
way
for sure.
You don't have to worry about it, and we'll just take it from there. We'll just
Driving
drop
in
you
new
off.
places terrifies me. It's so scary.
Yeah.
How bad is the driving there?
We're
Better than
crazy.
New-
Not
than
New
New
Jersey
Jersey.
crazy, but we're still crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst place I've ever driven was Milwaukee. I did not like.
Milwaukee was fine. So yeah, you'll be very scared over here. It's fine.
I mean, I drive in Chicago just fine. Milwaukee, I just don't like their
Those-
roads, and the GPS doesn't work well.
That's true. Still, New
Those-
Jersey's the worst. All right.
Okay.
Anyone listening from New Jersey, we still love you. We just don't understand your roads.
Yeah. But for sure, I'm gonna make it. And hopefully, we get to see some parking advancements made in the next coming years with the Disneyland Forward project on the way. So, but I think that's all we have, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially because speaking of Disneyland Forward, just to wrap it up, with the closure of Magic Way happening, I am interested to see what they have in store for Magic Way. It's not closing. Disney is just taking ownership of that stretch. Which
how
makes total
dare
sense.
they?
I know. How dare they take Magic Way?
And
But
a lot about this parking structure is very controversial. Just
Yeah.
for anyone listening who's just listening just to hate listen, we love the parks, so we're giving it all a positive spin. But we hear you, we understand you. But
yeah.
Sorry, Amanda, continue.
No, I just wanted to say, like, I'm curious to see what they do with Magic Way, and the parking that is the downtown Disney parking, if they do anything with that to ease congestion and everything, make it a little more streamlined, because that is a lot of land, and they do have a lot of opportunity to make some improvements. So we shall see. But until then, we'll sign off for now. And until next time, continue to place trust in the magic of imagination, and remember, the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. See you next time.
Hey.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.